I never noticed. Did we move them around?
Well, they had dates.
Good evening. Let me call this public hearing to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Darrow.
Here.
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Ms. Hannikin.
Here.
Mr. Molnar.
Here.
And Ms. Tully.
Here.
The subject of the hearing this evening is ordinance number 52-2015, which is an ordinance amending our code so that there'll be limitations on use of off-highway motorcycles, all-purpose vehicles, snowmobiles. Is there anyone that would like to address this? If you would, hi. Please come to the microphone. Mike? State your name, address.
Hi, my name's Mike Hawkins. For those of you who don't know me, I live at 9179 Briarwood Road. And if you're not familiar with the property, I'm at the end of the street. We're right at the top of Shepherd Hills Boulevard. We're a short dead-end street with 12 houses on it. And I own most of the land on the cul-de-sac. I came across this by accident just going through the leader, probably like half the other people did the week before. Called up Josephine, got a copy of it sent out. And let me just start off by saying I am a responsible ATV rider and off-road motorcycle rider. I've been riding motorcycles since I was 9 or 10 years old. I lost count now, there's probably 2 dozen of them in my garage at home right now. They're all off-road bikes, most of them vintage bikes that I used to race. And I'm down to one ATV. I used to have 4, I'm down to one ATV now. With the kids, once the kids got older, we got out of the ATVs. I keep one around, and its main use is the snowplow. And it's a utility quad, and just for people that don't know, there's 2 basic types of ATVs and 2 basic types of dirt bikes. And to keep it simple, the utility quads are the ones that people take on hunting in the woods. They're made to get in there kind of stealthily, quiet, very large mufflers, and it probably makes half the noise of your average lawnmower. It's a very quiet machine. And the same thing with the dirt bikes. They make off-road dirt bikes that we call play bikes that are very quiet. They're not that powerful. It's for somebody that's getting just into the sport. They won't get hurt on them. The other side of the coin with both the quads and the motorcycles is they make competition machines. These are more powerful machines, better brakes, better suspensions, like a little Indy car basically, and they typically are very loud. Okay, I own a couple of competition bikes, modern bikes that I ride on a regular basis. I don't ride them here in town. When I do ride them, I put them on a trailer. I go down towards New Philadelphia, and there's some tracks and places down there that you pay a fee for the day to ride all day. My main concern with this is a couple things. I own over 4 acres of land, and it's roughly a 400 by 400 square, kind of odd shaped in the front like a funnel. I have a house in a separate garage there, and I have another house on the property that belongs to me. That's my mother's house. She lives there. The way this is written with the 250 feet from the primary residence, 500 feet from the neighbors, 100 feet from the street, I can't ride on my property if I wanted to, which I really don't, but it just bothers me that I can't. About once a year, I don't have any grandkids, but I do have a lot of great nephews in that. My mother babysits for them. Around Halloween time, I'll hook the lawn cart up to the ATV. We'll put some hay bales in there and take the kid for a putz around the property there, and they get a big kick out of it. If this goes into law, I can't be able to do that, and I'd be committing a crime if I did. The other thing in here is, you say in here, 1 acre of land you can ride, but it kind of contradicts itself. I don't think anybody that has an acre of land, which is roughly 100 by 400, 200 by 200, whatever dimension you want to put on it, when you put these restrictions in here on how far you can be from either properties or houses, whatever, nobody can ride in the city unless they had a really big piece of property, which we all know there's very few of those. I think there's one behind me, the old Mayfarth farm is still intact. My main concern with this also is, like I said, I snowplow. I don't snowplow for money, but I have 3 driveways, including my mother's. I do the cul-de-sac. I do our street most of the time. I let the city trucks do it at night, but during the daytime, I keep it clean. And I would venture to say that we have the cleanest street in the city, even cleaner than the mayor's. Okay. And I always think, I wonder what the people on Tanglewood next to us, what they think when they pull out and they got 6 inches of snow on their street, and ours is clean as a whistle. And I just do that to be a good neighbor. We have good people on our street, and we all look out for one another.
The snowplow ferry came by.
Yeah. And not to say that the city guys don't do a good job. Believe me, they do a real good job. It's just something I do while I'm out there. I also plow 5 or 6 of the neighbors' driveways. We have a couple elderly people. We have a young widow. We have a couple sick people on the street. And at any given time, I'll plow 5 or 6 of those houses. I don't charge for it or anything like that, but it's just something that I enjoy doing, and I want to make sure that if something happened, the rescue squad people can get in there and get them out. But reading this, I don't know if I can do that. It says I can snowplow, but it also says I'm not supposed to be on the street with it. So I guess that's one of my other concerns. And trying to see if there was anything else on here. Kind of highlighted everything. I guess, if you're having a problem with somebody in town, this really does not address the problem. If you have somebody that has a noisy ATV and is running in circles around their lot, reading this, if I wanted to be kind of like a NASCAR crew chief and, cheat a little bit or whatever, I could get a street legal motorcycle that's capable of riding off-road, take the exhaust off, buy an aftermarket exhaust for more performance, which also means a lot more noise. And with a license plate on there, I could run it around my property. Then it doesn't fall into these configurations you guys have written here. I think you'd be better off, if you're really concerned about that, is write an ordinance that concerns what most people are concerned with, and that's noise and dust, if somebody's riding these things excessively. So if somebody's creating a lot of dust, their neighbor calls up and complains, that would be a reason to shut them down. And all the play bikes and the utility quads are very quiet. If somebody's riding a competition machine, which I would agree, and I think most of these people in here would agree, they should not be ridden anywhere in this town. Those are meant for racetracks only. If you get a simple decibel meter, a policeman comes out, he could check and see how loud that is, and it wouldn't be hard to determine where the cutoff point is. All those specs are available on the internet from the various manufacturers. So I guess I would say I would hope that you would maybe rewrite this thing if you're having a real problem with it. If not, if it's only 1 or 2 people in town, maybe you can deal with the 1 or 2 people in town and not punish the rest of us for being responsible owners. When I bought this property, I built my first house on Ledge Acres in the Woodview development in 1986, I believe. Never thought I was going to leave there, and 6 years later, this piece of property came up. I always wanted something bigger. And all I really want to do is be left alone. I keep my property up. I planted over 2 acres of grass there, and I keep my property nice and neat. We don't make a lot of noise. We got good neighbors, so don't punish me for somebody else in town that's causing a problem. Deal with them, okay? And if not, if you feel like you do have to pass something like this, then I would ask that maybe you grandfather my property in. It's an oddball piece of property. The city used to own it years ago before Cleveland Water came here. We found 5 different wells in a small 500-gallon storage tank, and I found out later on that it used to feed 3 or 4 of the streets around me back before Cleveland Water. And I couldn't believe that 500-gallon tank could, service all those houses. And when you talk to some of the old timers who were around, they said on Sunday mornings, when everybody flushed their toilet at the same time, they'd run out of water. So the property was left in a shambles. It was sold to somebody, a developer. I think it was Mr. Wargo that built a lot of the slab ranches way back when. When I bought the property, it looked like an old Western scene with the tumbleweeds blowing through. There was no grass or nothing. There was a lot of old car parts laying around and things like that. So I've cleaned all that up. It looks like a city park now, to the point where I've had to boot people off the property that thought the city did own it. And basically, like I say, I just want to be left alone and want to be able to do what I've been doing and not bother my neighbors at all. Nobody's ever complained about anything I've ever done there. Okay. And if you've got any questions on anything with the ATVs or the dirt bikes, feel free to call me, ask me, stop up at my place or something. I'll show you around. But I've been collecting and restoring bikes since I was this big.
I actually would like to talk to you in more detail on this.
Sure.
Because you're the kind of person who is a good neighbor and is not bugging the neighbors.
You can't hear it. They can't hear you.
They can't hear me?
No.
I'm speaking into
Test.
the microphone. Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Okay.
I was just saying, Mr. Hawkins, I would like to talk to him. The people that have been concerned are not people who have neighbors like you. They are people that have folks who are riding these extremely loud ATVs, and riding around and around in a fairly small area, kicking up dirt. They can't open the windows. They can't sit out at night. And there's so much noise, they can't have any peace at all. And you have to recognize that some people work different shifts, and the kid is out there driving around. Usually it's, unsupervised children, I think, primarily.
Yeah.
And so we want to be fair to people, but we also don't want to continue to have people harassed like that either.
Mhm.
So it's a difficult balancing act.
No,
I do
I-
appreciate you coming in.
I understand that, yeah. And I've got a son that's, he's a nurse at the hospital in Cuyahoga Falls. He works nights. So he sleeps until 5 o'clock every day. So I'm very well aware of, noise and things like that. I walk on eggshells around the house to let him sleep. And,
You
so,
know, this is not as severe as the one they passed in Northfield Village. It was an attempt to accommodate
yeah.
because the chief of police had worked, and some other folks had worked on trying to identify, to solve the problem without becoming too onerous. But we're interested in suggestions because we do want to prevent people from abusing their neighbors like this, because
Sure,
this is
I understand.
quite serious.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Like I say, I appreciate quietness and stuff too, and that's why I do take mine out of town to ride them. We're out in the boonies where we don't bother anybody, and you're allowed to do it down there.
Gee, I
so.
wish you lived on my street about the cleaning part too.
Mike, one of the things that you said that's important is you've never had anybody complain, and you never will. I know
I take good
you
care of
will.
my neighbors, I just, I
Exactly.
feel like it's a privilege to live on that street. We're not in a new development or anything, but we've got all good people on that street. I walk my dog all the time and talk to everybody when they're out and stuff. So I mean, it's a pretty close-knit street. It's a nice place to live.
You probably never ever, this law wouldn't even exist as far as you're concerned because nobody would ever complain.
Yeah,
The problem is that when a complaint comes in, we don't have anything that we can tell the people to stop.
right.
So there was a lot of research done trying to find something that would allow you to test your ATVs, to drive them to plow, you can even run them for a short period of time. In other words, we're not after ATVs, we're just trying to get something so that when somebody does have a problem, we have something
Yeah.
we can address it with. If you never get somebody calling in on you, you'd never even know this law existed.
Well, and that's, I guess in one way, I thought about that, and I thought it probably wouldn't really concern me that much, but in the same token, if the law's in writing, then I feel like I am breaking the law, and I don't feel I don't
understand.
want to do that,
I
And
do.
we have a lot of laws on the book. When I walk the dog around, I go on the other side of Shepherd. I've been up and down all those streets. In fact, the people over there think I live there. They all wave to me every day when I walk by with the dog. And I see boats sitting out, campers sitting out in front of the houses, things like that. And I know you're not supposed to do that, but nothing gets done about it. So I always wonder, like, okay, you're going to put another law in the books that's not going to get enforced, or how do you enforce it? It's like just another bunch of paperwork. And I'm sure the policemen have, better things to be doing with all the construction going on and everything else at the commons up here.
The only thing that spurs action, like, is a complaint.
Right.
So you can have a trailer in front of your house, if nobody complains, we're not gonna step in. We can't go on a lot unless there's a complaint.
Okay.
So we have there's lots where we have terrible situation, 3, 4 ATVs at the same time, running for hours.
Yeah,
Right.
and that shouldn't be, I agree, And like I said, if you'd like to call me, Josephine's got my numbers and stuff. I'd be more than happy to give you some ideas and maybe we'll work something out that
I'll
would.
be checking in with you because maybe you have some ideas that we haven't considered even, but
Yeah.
we do need to address this, and we have to have empathy for people who don't have responsible and respectful neighbors.
Mike, we have to move on. There's
Okay.
others that want to speak. Thank you for your input.
Your public hearing can go on as long as you have people talking.
Okay.
It's not a finite.
Hi.
Paul Coppage, 984 Shepherd Hills Boulevard. Similar to Mike, I have a lot of dirt bikes, four-wheelers. We have 4 children. I have 2 in college, 1 in high school, 1 about to be in high school. All good kids, good grades, haven't had any issues with the police. This is obviously one of our big hobbies. We own 200 acres about 45 minutes east of here. My family does what we call our farm. It's our weekend place. 99% of our riding is done out there, but we keep the equipment at home since we're not out there and afraid it's going to get stolen. Our amount of riding at our house would probably be less than 2 hours a year. And the same thing, we do have some motocross competition bikes. If one of my kids is riding it in the yard, it's solely for the purpose of warming it up to change the oil. So we're talking 3 to 5 minutes. What bothers me is similar to Mike, is I hate being told what I can't do. And I realize as a society, we do need laws. And I get what you're saying. I don't know who the person is where these kids are riding around. And I live close to Mike. I've known Mike a long time. If a kid was doing that in the yard next to me, and common sense would say, hopefully the parent's going to stop it, and they're not, I get it. So I get it, how frustrating it must be for that parent. But I hate for a law like this to punish me or my kids, even though they're really not riding in the yard. I swear, you can look, if someone's riding in the yard all the time, you're going to see a rut. But I hate for the fact is a policeman stopping because my kid's riding in the yard telling them to stop. The other thing is, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but a few of my neighbors' kids have the little mini bikes now that we remember when we were kids. The Sears engine, a little 3.5 horsepower, the Tractor Supply sold, Sears, when they were here, sold. A lot of them are in our neighborhood. And these kids, they don't have anywhere to ride. So they ride in their yard, half hour, 45 minutes once a week, and now they won't be able to. I wish I could tell you exactly what you need to do to not punish the good citizens. I'm not sure what that is. But I also don't understand is, if it's a noise issue, don't we have noise laws on the books?
Yeah, but reading it with the decibel meter is tough, Mike, because you know as well as I do, as you're riding, the engine RPMs go up and down.
Right.
It's very, very difficult to do it with noise. There was a lot of research done into what other communities have, what they've done to try and have a law to regulate.
Right.
And some of them are ridiculously hard, all right? I think almost in your case, you wouldn't have a policeman come onto your yard and tell you stop.
Right.
Unless there was a complaint.
Right. And I get that. But what I would say is 99% of the kids here who have these little mini bikes, who are respectful and don't bother the neighbors, they're not going to be able to ride anymore. That I think is my concern. Now, if what you're saying is the only reason a policeman's going to come is if there's a call, I get it. But the other thing is also, when you read the legislation, it says, notwithstanding any other provision contained in this section, it shall not be an offense for a person licensed to operate a motor vehicle. There's no license to ride an ATV or a mini bike. Okay,
All
so
right.
a 14-year-old kid riding a little mini bike, there's no license that he could get. So that would be problemsome. Or test drive. So if you're going to do that, and also it says all-purpose vehicle, that would mean by this law, I wouldn't be able to ride the dirt bike around the yard, because that's not an APV, an ATV, or UTV. That's a dirt bike.
Well-
So by the law, I couldn't do it.
Tonight, we're only gonna be at second reading.
Right.
All these things are key. in
Right.
What you're saying. Maybe Mike and Paul, you can send me your telephone numbers, and I can discuss with you as we make changes.
Right.
This is not written in stone yet.
And like I said, I do get it. If someone's doing this to someone's house 8 hours a day, 2 hours a day, I get it. I get it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next?
Evening. My name is Dave Lacey. I live at 8598 North Bedford Road. I grew up here in Macedonia. I grew up riding dirt bikes on that property. The way your proposal is written, I can't ride on my 1 acre of land. Even though you're allowing me to by law, you alleviate it by the 500-foot rule and the 250-foot rule. My son saved up his money for 2 years, sold his four-wheeler, got his first dirt bike, 125. I think that's adequate for this size lot. Maybe put that restriction in your ordinance. Need to lighten up on the 500-foot, because I bought my mom and dad's house. With my sons growing up here, I figured he can ride the bike like I did, my brother did. Now he can't do that.
Dave, what would you consider a footage that you could live with?
Well, I believe that all bikes should be behind the house. You should never
Okay.
ride between two adjacent houses.
So behind the house would be a
100
stipulation?
50 foot behind the house.
Okay.
And then at least a minimum of 20 foot off the property lines. Because you still don't have a restriction on property lines in there. You're just saying 500 feet from your neighbor's home, which puts me 3 doors down to ride legally.
Yeah.
Or my neighbor, which lives 2 doors down, that has almost 3 acres, he can't even ride on his property with his 2 daughters. So it maybe limit the amount of bikes that can be ridden on the acreage that you have. So if you have an acre, you're allowed 1 bike. If you have 2 acres, 2 bikes. 3 acres, then you can have 4 or more, with the same restrictions as they said: no high performance exhaust, no racing. It has to be standard issue exhaust systems.
Same thing, Dave. Maybe if you could send me your phone number,
Oh, absolutely.
and we can talk to you as we develop this. This was something that was put together that is very much needing massaging. We've had 2 readings, but we wanted to make sure to hold it after the second reading so that we're not gonna make a decision till you tell us what's gonna work.
Right. Well, it's key because this is his responsibility, this dirt bike, and he's responsible for oil changes. He has to do it all, and this is how
Good.
I learned how to do everything. And he has to respect the neighbors too. So, like they said before, anybody that just circles around the house all day long, that's not fair. I wouldn't want to hear it.
No.
And if it was my son going around in a circle for 3-4 hours at a time, I'd be like, get off of that thing, or I'm selling it. Because it's not respectful to my neighbors.
And that's key.
Right.
Respect your neighbors.
Right, and I believe that you should be allowed to ride, like you said, from 10 to 8, that's good, or dusk, whichever comes first, but in increments. You can't go 2, 3, 4 hours at a time either. I mean, that's not fair to anybody.
So what increment would you use?
Like an hour max, hour 15 minutes max, so at least they can have fun. And the reason I say 1 bike per acre is because you don't want them saying, well, your buddies can come over and ride too. I don't want that to happen.
That's one of the problems, is there are 2 and 3 and 4 bikes in the same 1 acre lot.
Right,
Or half acre lot, and they're driving between the houses.
yeah,
And
and
your
that
suggestion of putting them behind the house
strictly
makes a lot
behind
of
the house.
sense.
Doesn't matter where your neighbor's house is, if you're not behind your house, if you keep going up in your front yard
Mhm.
and then circling between 2 adjacent houses, you know, that's a double whammy because you're increasing the decibels. It's echoing. And you should be limited to how many bikes you can have per acre. I mean, 1 bike on 1 acre is more than enough. That's enough, you have enough room that you can be safe. I mean, we went out to the point that we bought his safety helmet, his chest protector, his full riding gear. He doesn't go on that bike without it. So, you know, to have all this investment and not even have an opportunity to learn how to ride.
Sure.
To eventually, maybe if he wants to go down the alley of racing like he does, you know, I feel more comfortable with my son in my yard where my wife and I both sit there and watch him. Not out in the woods where I have to pay to go ride and I don't have a bike. So then he's riding around without me. What if he gets hurt? At least here I can watch him with respect to my neighbors. Yeah, that's key.
Key, it sure is.
Right, and there's a lot of people that don't, but maybe if the ordinance read that you, 1 acre, 1 bike, everything behind the houses are, what the offset of the house, I believe at Macedonia is 80 to 100 feet off the road, so you're already 100 feet away from the road. So if you're another 50 feet behind your house, at least you'll have room to adequately ride safely on your property without injuring yourself.
Okay.
And
That made a lot of sense. 1 acre, 1 bike, 1 bike at a time.
right,
That could be something we would want to pursue. Thank you very much, Dave.
well, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
All right, anybody else?
Can I borrow this or?
Yep.
Sure you
Okay,
can.
thank you.
Hi.
I'm Joshua Krasinski. I live at 9012 Crow Drive, across from my lovely neighbor, Mr. Nicholas Molnar. He's a joy to have.
Paid
That's
political
not sarcasm,
campaign.
believe it or not. But I have a little tiny, not big at all. It's a 70cc 4-stroke, which is the quieter of the bikes. And I don't think that, I agree with him that you should have to, ride in a zone where you won't anger your neighbors and you won't echo it, but it's kind of hard for me because I have a smaller property. I live on the corner, so I have to, it's I would almost have to just circle around to ride in my backyard, and it's hard for me because I don't really have that much space because we have a playhouse because I have 3 younger siblings, so it would be harder for me to ride in a confined space than it would for him, than it would for other people that have multiple acre properties. And I think that they should probably set a limit on what you should be what parts you should be allowed to put on your bike and what parts you shouldn't. ATVs and also, like, you shouldn't be allowed to put certain exhausts on them, and you shouldn't be allowed to maybe like set rules like you're not allowed to ride 2 strokes around in the neighborhood, or like set it to like a certain size bike and like size per acre maybe. Like if you have a 1 acre property, like 80 below, bigger bike sizes, on and on. So, and it also, I don't damage my property as much as a lot of people think I do. Maybe a rut or two. I only ride it, last year I only got like maybe 3 hours the whole year. So it's not like I'm on it frequently a lot, but I like to ride it because it's fun. And it also encourages me to keep higher grades on my report card. Also my parents kind of sort of push me, but
What was your first name again?
Joshua,
Joshua? You did a good job.
thank you.
Well, how long? See that? You're gonna be a councilman one day, I can
Really?
tell. All right, how long do you think we should set a time to ride? What would you be satisfied with if we said if you're riding your bike, you can ride it for,
I would probably be happy with 30 minutes maxed out
Oh,
because
geez.
I don't really ride it a lot because I
well,
have
I
baseball
think we
and stuff.
could go at least an hour, don't you?
Okay, yeah.
I think that would be fair. And see, that's a good idea. You said a lot of good things tonight. Congratulations,
Thank
good
you.
job. All right,
Thanks, Joshua.
anything else?
No.
Okay, Josh,
Thank you.
see. Any other people like to address this? Hearing none.
Oh, there's
Oh,
one
I'm
more.
sorry.
Mike's coming up.
Good evening. My name is Mike Gabriel. I live at 883 Iroquois, behind and below Sugar Bush city-owned property. I've been a resident of Macedonia for 20 years. I'm here with my daughter, Jamie. I'm here today because I've seen council meetings and work sessions on TV that indicate the city may be rearranging the priority of order of stormwater projects from the citywide engineering study that was done.
Can I interrupt you, Mike?
Sure.
This is a public hearing for the dirt bikes. We're
I'm
gonna s-
sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it.
okay, we're gonna start our meeting right as soon as I bang the gavel, end our public hearing, okay? And make sure you sign in, Mike.
Yes, I did.
You
Oh,
did?
good.
Good. We'll call you up.
We'll call you.
My
right
apologies.
after.
I didn't.
No problem, no problem. That's no problem. Now, do we have anyone else to address dirt bikes, ATVs? Hearing none, whoops.
I didn't sign in, Mr. Mayor.
You don't have to sign in for a public hearing.
Okay. I'm Tim Mahome. I live at 517 Robin Lane. And I guess as I'm hearing this, one of the things I worry about as a neighbor in the city is trying to put a time limit on the riding. Because how are we ever going to prove how long people have ridden?
That's a good question.
So that's just sitting here. I didn't even come to comment on this. But I know with my neighbors and other neighbors, it's going to be very difficult to look and judge what that time is. It's basically going to be my word versus somebody else's. And then when the officers come in, if they do, then you've got that going on. So that'd be my only comment about what I've heard here.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, any other comments for the public hearing? Hearing none? Whoops, one more.
There's another comment here.
Yes, good evening. My name's Jerry Jordak. I live at 8928 North Bedford. And since most of what I've been wanting to say has been covered by the previous speakers, I'll make this quick because I know you want to get your meeting started. But I have 5 acres of property, actually 5 1/4 acres. My lot is about 250 feet wide and 1,000 feet deep. And unlike some of the previous other speakers, I don't yet own a quad. But I've been thinking about buying one, but I have to build a little bit bigger garage first to put it in. But I've been thinking about getting one for snow plowing, doing yard work, that sort of thing. But at the same time, with having such a deep lot, you know, sometimes I like to go back and just kind of check on what's going on back there, make sure, you know, the neighborhood kids aren't burning things or whatever. And it'd be nice just to be able to, you know, get on the quad, go take a ride back there, but the way the current ordinance is written, I wouldn't be able to do that because of the 500-foot restriction, because on one side of my property, I have some adjoining houses from a nearby cul-de-sac. So I guess my concern is just that, you know, I wouldn't be able to just take a leisurely ride back on a utility quad back to the tracks and see what's going on in my land, you know, being in violation of the law. And as, you know, Mike initially said, you know, yeah, nobody's probably gonna, you know, call me in about it just if I'm putting along through my yard, but at the same time, it's still breaking the law, and, you know, I don't want to, you know, sin against my own conscience. So I guess my concern is that, you know, maybe we could just, you know, during the process of, you know, revising this legislation, maybe revisit some of the restrictions on the 500 feet and also the 250 feet, you know, between the houses, and maybe make it look more based on, you know, the restrictions from, like, you know, maybe 25 feet off the property line, that kind of thing, along with, you know, obviously.
So you feel that would work, 25 feet from the property line?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Jerry, anything else?
Nope, that's all. Thank you for
Good
your time.
job. Thank you. Okay, one
None.
more.
Good evening, I'm Marie Washington. I live at 9176 Cherokee Run. I've been a Macedonia resident for 23 years. For the last 12 years, I've been living next door to the neighbor from hell that has made my life and my family's life miserable. My son was willed an ATV last May when his uncle died. It was used for hunting purposes only. My son has modified the ATV so that he could ride it on our property, which is .83 acreage. We have been warned by the police that if my son rides the ATV, it will either be removed or my son will be arrested. We've also been told by the Macedonia police that my son could make it street legal by putting a license plate on it and a headlight, which is what we're probably gonna be doing. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is I can't live next to somebody who complains about every single thing that we do. He makes our life his business, and the ATV has become one of those things. Last year, he went out, Sylvia came to my house with Rita and showed me a petition that I talked to an attorney about that listed things that my son does that probably every single person in this room either has or does. Has a machete, uses an axe, rides a bike, skateboards. I mean, this was a petition that got 27 signatures that did not make me happy, and that's when this first came to your attention. Okay, I don't know what the answers are. I'm a very angry Macedonia resident. I am not happy living in this community anymore, and I'm noticing a lot of people are leaving this community for a lot of different reasons. And I don't know what the answers are. I wish my neighbor would move. Nobody else around me has ever complained or come to my door as it was stated in the petition that was brought to my attention. So my son has an ATV that he can't use. What are you offering to the people of Macedonia? Where can they go ride? What are your plans for these people that can't ride on their property anymore?
Well, that's a very good question. It would be very nice if we could do more recreation-wise for our residents. You're absolutely right. I don't have any answer to that. All I know is that we were trying to address people, and you have an exceptional situation, I think. That's
Well,
bad.
I have the police at my house very frequently, and I know you guys
That's-
are tired of that. And it's for a lot of reasons. It's for vulgarity, it's for racism.
Wow.
It's for numerous things. He's tried to run my son down 3 times.
Oh, my gosh.
Nothing ever got done about that because my son wasn't hurt. So I am a very frustrated Macedonia resident. I don't see any outcome. I think what you're trying to do is hurting a lot of people because we have neighbors that don't know how to have a life. We know how to have a life. We enjoy our life. We are outside constantly. but I don't want to be outside working in my garden and being called a name, or my son being asked, oh, isn't it nice that you can't ride your ATV anymore? I mean, I don't know what the answers are. Something definitely needs to be done. But Bedford has a skateboard park.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of things that other communities do for the children of for our children. And I want to know, would you rather my son be out in the streets, roaming the streets at night, or doing something in his own yard that he enjoys? I mean, there's a lot of bad things going on in Macedonia right now. My son is not a part of any of that, and I don't ever want him to be a part of any of that. But there has to be something that can be offered to these people that have bikes or dirt bikes or ATVs or four-wheelers or whatever, where they can say, all right, I can't ride in my property, but Macedonia built this beautiful place where we could go ride. Just food for thought.
Thank you. All right, let the record show that we closed the public hearing at 7:37. And I'd like to call our June 11th, 2015.
Want to get your department heads in, let them know. They're all standing in the hall. Yeah. And give us a minute to go get the, Nick's gonna go get this.
All right, we're gonna wait while my department heads come in.
And Nick's getting a sign sheet. Who's gonna, Nick's getting. Are you gonna go get that? They were aware that it was.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Yeah. All right, now we're all set. Let me call this June 11th, 2015 meeting to order. Thank you, Nick. We're going to start off this evening with our roll call for the meeting, please.
Ms. Jarrow.
Here?
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Ms. Hannikin.
Here.
Mr. Molnar.
Here.
Ms. Tully. Here.
Very good. All right, next part of our meeting will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Leading us will be our Council President, Rita Darrow, after which Jan Tully will say the invocation.
Let us be united. Let us speak in harmony. Let our minds apprehend alike. Common be our prayer. Common be the end of our assembly. Common be our resolution. Common be our deliberations. Alike be our feelings. Unified be our hearts. Common be our intentions. Perfect be our unity for this community. Amen.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the minutes. We have a couple of dates on there. Do we have any additions, deletions, or do we want to pass the minutes?
Mayor, I'd make a motion to accept the minutes for the special meeting May 26th and 27th as submitted by the Clerk of Council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now we have acceptance of our financial report. Do I have a motion?
I move that we accept the financial report as provided by the administration.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the next part of our meeting is comments by the public. To comment, we ask you to sign in on our sheet. Come to the front, speak into the microphone here, tell us your name, your address, and try and keep it to 5 minutes. Tim, maybe you can watch the minutes first tonight. All right, first on the list now, Dave, you already spoke, right? So we're good there. Next is Mike Gabriel. Mike?
Thank you. Mike Gabriel, 883 Iroquois, behind and below Sugar Bush City-owned park. I'm a resident of Macedonia for 20 years. I'm here today because I've seen council meetings and work sessions on TV that indicate the city may be rearranging the priority order of stormwater projects from the citywide engineering study that was done about 7 years ago. Most of you are on council are very familiar with the water problems on Iroquois, and I know the mayor is well aware of the issue as we served on the first stormwater committee together. Water comes down like Niagara Falls during heavy or prolonged rain. It flows through my backyard, often through my house and garage, down the street, debris included, causing the street to flood. Residents of Iroquois have had to replace driveways and culverts due to the rushing water. I personally have had to replace my flooring at least 5 times, had to replace drywall on the main floor twice, I've had to re-waterproof, install sump pumps inside and out, and add backup systems to my property. I've had to replace my patio decking, outdoor above-ground pool. I've had to replace a brick walkway. This is all due to water damage. I've purchased railroad ties to make higher dams in my backyard to contain the water. I have had paid for piping to be put into my yard. My family and several volunteers bagged sandbags, and, excuse me, those still sit throughout the yard. A 3 to 4 foot wide trench has been dug less than 20 feet from the back of my home to stop the water from flooding my house. Unfortunately, it has become a mosquito breeding ground. I can't even enjoy my own property. Resolving the stormwater issue from Sugar Bush Park needs to be done once and for all. Nothing has been done so far that has worked. We have been put off, meaning myself and my family, and pushed back for almost 20 years for one reason or another. Previous mayor, Joe Migliorini, had told me that at the time it had to wait because it was an election year. The previous service director, Jim Crevar, told me that my house never should have been built there. I was told that it was a county issue. I went to the county pointed the finger back at the city. You know, we saw the light at the end of the tunnel when an outside engineering firm was given us the number 2 priority on the list. When the number 1 priority was completed, I was even more hopeful. Then the recession hit, and we were pushed back once again. Now, from my understanding that the city's financial hardships have passed, and according to Mayor Kukta, we are able to provide the wants for city residents. Well, this issue should be taken care of now. When we find out the priority list may be changed, I just can't tell you how upset and angry it made me. We may not live in one of the larger, more expensive developments in our city, but we have the right to the same quality of life that the rest of the citizens of Macedonia enjoy. You know, personally, would any of you like to stand outside in a lightning storm, in the middle of a pond in the back of my property, pulling out debris from an overflow, trying to protect my family, my home? For 20 years, I've been doing this. It's not just affecting my property, it's affecting everybody downstream from me, so to speak. Iroquois Road is deteriorating so bad from this water. Something needs to be done. In closing, the only reason I can see that Iroquois Trail stormwater issue would be assigned a different priority would be because those that are making the decisions are unaware of the severity of the issue, or that you just don't care. Now that I have made you aware, do the right thing and show you care about all the residents in our city. My family and I have been patient for 20 years. Stormwater is being routed from city property, which is Sugar Bush Park, onto private property, 883 Iroquois Run, which is my residence. At this point, my suggestion is for the city to purchase my property, make it into a large retention basin for the entire area with access to Sugar Bush Park so that children can go to the park without having to walk or ride their bikes on the main street or up Ledge Hill. Give them an area for this dirt bike issue. I can't live like this any longer. I shouldn't have to live like this. My daughter has something that she would like to say also.
Hi, my name is Jamie Gabriel. I've lived at 883 Iroquois Run for the past 20 years. And, you know, as I got older, you know, I'll be 24 in a couple of months. I've seen the hardships because I fully understand now what my parents have had to go through. You know, just a couple of examples. I work late nights sometimes at a country club that I work at, and there have been times where it has been raining so hard, and to see my dad in the ponds, you know, moving debris so our house won't flood, to protect us, to protect sinking in any more money into a house that just floods. You know, it hurts. It hurts because I feel like there's nothing I can do, and my parents raised me, and I want to be able to help out. But when the water just keeps coming in, there's not much you can do, especially when some pumps fail. It's bad. You know, there have been many times that my back room has been torn apart that I couldn't have my friends over. I had to move my graduation party from my house the last minute. We've had to move Thanksgiving, Easter, you know, because of how many times our house is flooded. And the one Father's Day I will never forget, a couple years ago, we all had to spend the entire day pulling logs out of our pond. Would any of you want to be spending that on your Father's Day, or would you want to be enjoying it with your family? We had to pull logs out of our pond. This is unacceptable. You know I still have a lot to learn, but like I said, I'm 23. I've seen enough to know that this needs to stop. You know, like you said, we have Once for the Cities. We just had a wonderful celebration up at the rec center, Home Days. You know, I didn't attend, I couldn't, but I've heard positive things from the people who I've talked to that attended. We should be able to feel like that in our own home when it rains and not have to worry about strapping on our rain boots and our raincoats and getting struck by lightning if we do, and our house flooding. I'm over it. At this point, like my dad said, I would even be happy if Macedonia bought our property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the list is Kathy Loya. Kathy?
Good evening. Thank you very much for the time here. My name is Kathy Loya, 9186 North Bedford Road. I've spoken to council over the past few months in regards to stormwater and erosion concerns at our creek that runs through our back property that we experience. With the recent rain event that we had on Saturday, May 30th, the issue of stormwater needs to be at the forefront of everyone's mind here in the city of Macedonia. My husband and I were very concerned about the amount of water that we saw on our property that night. And a couple of thank yous. I'd like to thank Mr. Molnar for being available via text that evening. Mr. Molnar was at our property on April 30th, and we just wanted to share what we were seeing a month later. I'd also like to thank Mr. Mayor for your response to my husband's email that he sent very late that evening, and for also coming to our property on the morning of the 31st. You were so nice to do that. You had a good time with my son, and we're also willing to talk to our neighbors. Thank you also to Mrs. Darrow and Mrs. Hannikin for coming out that afternoon on the 31st. Today, June 11th, is the day my husband and I moved into 9186 North Bedford Road 10 years ago. We never dreamed of all that we would experience and learn from this property. The rain event that we had on Saturday, May 30th, reminded me of the rain event that we had on June 22nd, 2006. The concern, fear, and reason that I like to get away when rain events like that happen all stem back to this date. Since moving to our home, the night of May 31st, 2015 was the highest the water has reached on our property since June 22nd, 2006. And that date is my worst nightmare. A nightmare that I wouldn't want to wish on anyone. While some say and or think that we don't have it so bad, that rain that we had on the 30th, that wasn't so bad, I say otherwise. We were lucky. We were lucky that our pumps operated, and thankfully no water got into our basement, and we were lucky that the rain stopped when it did. But I know that luck only lasts for so long, and images that I have in this folder from 2006 will happen again. This is what happened in 2006. My husband and I...
For the audience, is that when you had water in your basement almost up to the ceiling?
It was all the way up to the ceiling, yes. It was onto the first floor landing. My husband and I do appreciate all the talk that's been going on around our property in regards to stormwater, but frankly, it's time now for some action. As I said at the last meeting, the stormwater tributary or creek that runs through our back property has been neglected for far too long, and the problem is not going to go away. Additional stormwater cannot continue to be sent through this creek and through my property without any sort of management and or maintenance. With my previously expressed concerns about Interstate 271 and the expansion project going on, my neighbors, the Robbins family, and I, we went with State Representative Christina Rogner this past Monday when she was up at the Northfield Library. In fact, I just mailed her a letter last week. She's aware of our current situation. She got to see pictures. We got to talk to her about it. And she's going to do what she can from the state level in regards to getting some info about what additional water we can expect from 271. Again, I understand that my property sits now in a floodplain and it's designed to hold and retain stormwater. But how can public entities continue to divert stormwater onto existing home sites without any sort of management and maintenance, knowing the ramifications that we private citizens face? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, next on the list is Scott Robbins. Scott? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I live at 9196 North Bedford Road. Okay, I have the pictures that shows the water flow that hit on this last storm. I gave a copy to the mayor when he was at the house already. You know, you can have the picture from the water.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Got the email that states here that Macedonia's going to spend $50,000 more to do another survey, to resurvey what they've done. I've been in this house for 22 years. You surveyed it when you redredged it. You surveyed it going on 15 years ago when they were sort of stated back then that the pipe that goes underneath North Bedford Road is too small to handle the amount of water back then that was coming down. Since then, you've added the houses, the railroads, everything. North Bedford, all the freeway drives, everything has been added to that subsidiary. Everybody just keeps saying, well, here you go, deal with it. I've told everybody at this council meeting, there's 560 foot of property. Dig it up, put your retainer hole in my property, eliminate everybody's problem, put an end to it. It takes nothing but equipment, some pieces of piping, and eliminate the problem altogether. Everybody will be taken care of in that entire valley because all the water will go into retention pond then be piped out. 560 foot long, there's plenty enough to dig a hole as big as you wanna make it to put all the water in it. And that puts an end to everything that we got going on. But keep spending you spend $50,000 more to do the same surveys that have been done over and over again for the last 20 years. There's your money. You just keep spending money for the same exact thing over and over again, which I get upset when I saw it, because I don't understand how you're thinking of this.
Right.
Because no matter how many times you survey something, it's gonna be the same exact answer. The pipe under North Bedford Road is too small, find some way to solve the problem and dump the end of water. But all that keeps happening is you keep adding more and more and more, and there's nothing we can do about it. I give the options, and there's no response on what's gonna happen.
Well, we're gonna do something. What I'm curious about, where exactly do you live on North Bedford?
I live right next to right on the corner, right next to the property that's all open there.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
The sort of wetland area there that they have.
Yeah, the wetland that was created. And
Yes, right.
how that the pipe got blocked back in 2007 caused the flooding in the area. When the pipe got blocked, and Macedonia was trying to correct the problem back then in 2007, when it said the pipe needed to be replaced and enlarged.
I see.
Ignored.
Yeah, that did not happen, obviously.
Right,
but-
it was ignored. But the survey was done then for everything. Back then when they
Open it.
refreshed it, they knew what had to be done.
Well,
And
speaking
ignored.
to the expansion of 271, we did get clarified that the quality of stormwater, that is, what kind of debris and so forth is in it, is addressed by ODOT in the expansion, but what is not addressed is the volume of water that's coming off of the road. So it sounds like part of the issue is addressed in terms of debris, but the bigger issue that you have in that same area, and so is Mrs. Loya and others, is that water is coming in too fast to be controlled. And this is also true in Mr. Gabriel's area too. And there's other parts of Macedonia that have similar issues. We need to attack and address them and get them solved.
Well, I have to agree with the young man who was up here and said 20 years.
Right.
20 years is long enough.
Yeah,
20 years,
that
and
was
this
my-
is the fourth time that you spent $50,000 to do surveys in 20 years.
Phil, we talked when I came out to your property. I know, unfortunately, that's the first step in correcting it. As much as I don't want to spend 50 grand on another study, it sounds stupid, but that's what you have to do to correct it, because without an engineering, you know, the topography of the land has changed, the buildings have changed, the highway is changing. Unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. Tonight before the meeting, I provided a bunch of pictures from when I came out and visited you guys to council to kind of give an idea of what you're experiencing over there and the severity of it. I know a lot of this began in 2006. So engineering drew up a survey that they need to do in order to figure out what to do to correct it and how much it's going to cost. That's going to come up tonight for first reading.
All I'm asking is just, you know, 4 times the $50,000, there was all
We
the money
get
spent
you.
already to do what you need to fix.
But what it boils down to, and it's something that, you know, for years, Dave and Jan can attest this because they've been here a long time, stormwater and roadways are our biggest problem. And you always hear me scream about it because I know that that's something that we need to fund. We don't have the funding to correct all these issues. I know we don't. No one wants to admit this or hear this, but last time we talked about the problem in your area, it was said that it could cost millions. We don't have that. So how do you fund that? You know, this is the first step to correcting it, but millions of dollars. It's our job to do that. It's your quality of life. I think we're responsible for it and exploring options to do that. You know, I think we've exhausted many of the grant options. I think we've looked at every possible way to pay for something. You know, someone even suggested saying that, you know, putting the tax on the people that live in the area and you pay it over 20 years. Millions of dollars to 5 property owners, it was nice knowing you. That's not going to work.
I think the other thing is, Kathy and Tom know, this area has been under study. It's time to quit. We need to study to figure out how to solution it, because what we had eons ago may not work now because of all the growth around there. But we've got to start doing something. It's 50 grand for the study, but we've got to start saying, let's do it, figure it out. We know it won't be fixed this year. We've got to figure out what is the solution. You know, do we buy all the houses? Do we put a retention basin in, which wasn't an option before because we didn't have the property to do that. You can't do it on private property. It's time to stop studying the study, spend the money, get the study, figure out how we're gonna pay for it and go. And that's not just in your area, but your area most, because that whole Indian Creek, I can show you pictures when I went to high school, how it used to flood. So, because the growth happened, but there wasn't a plan to care for it. And Nick and I laughed today, Mr. Feeney and I, about the 100-year rains. And that's the extreme rain or extreme downpour. There's supposed to be considered 100-year rains. We've had 100-year rains a couple times in the past 15 years. So there's a change in climate that we all recognize is happening. So you've got to take care of what happened with all the infrastructure changes and our climate changing. We really need to do something. I was all for let's move on this.
Well, like I said, you can't put a retainer pond on private property, but I'm giving you the back part of my property to do it in.
And you deserve to be commended for that. Thank you very
Thank you
much,
very
Scott.
There's a lot of people that have put up for it for 20 years. I think the easiest solution is just to do it. I mean, Mr. Mayor, you turned around, you told me you have the equipment from other companies, dozers and everything else.
You know what,
Somebody to
Scott?
be able to drive them.
After I was at your house, I came back and I thought, this is something that can be done. Until I started talking to engineers and they brought out things to my attention, because I'm not an engineer, that have to be looked at that we never even thought about when we were talking. And this is only an example, there's more, but water table. Where's the water table there on that property? Doing this study also might make us eligible for some funding. And then that way we don't have to take money away from other things we're doing in the city, get you done. And the study is the start of funding. You always have to start with that. You're right, studies aren't the answer. It doesn't fix it. But things have changed. And now in this new study, it'll be taken into consideration that 271 will be 6 lanes. So see, there's something that wasn't there before. Okay?
Something you don't have an answer for yet on how much you're going to get. Thank you.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you.
Next, we have Robert Scott.
There he is, the tall, skinny guy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rob Scott. I live in Lake Forest Estates on Prairie Crossing. I wanted to talk about the stormwater management, go figure. It seems like we have a reoccurring problem with stormwater management. It's what everybody's been talking about. We got a 23-year-old lady who knows how to work a sump pump, even knows what one is. Another lady said she appreciates the talks the city has been a part of. We've had a lot of talks in Lake Forest Estates also, with no solutions, no actions. 50K of surveys. We had sand sent out and surveyed from Lake Forest Estates. The city paid for sand to be surveyed. The effort the city puts in, the city officials put in to visit and have conversations about these problems. She took that amount of time, took a shovel over to this gentleman's property who just donated a part of his land for a retention basin. We might have something. He said we need to explore our options. We need to study our surveys. I think what we need to do is elect people who are willing to work hard at fixing these problems and not talking about the problems, and consider what we need to do for future funding. And by future, I mean immediate, because I've lived in the city for 1 year. And after hearing everybody else, I'm in the beginning stages of a long road of problems working with the city to solve problems. Lake Forest Estates, we've had several people make recommendations, identify problems. Now that the problem is identified, the solutions have been recommended by professionals not elected officials, by professionals that we have asked what the problem is and what we can do to fix it. Now we need to work on the solution. I don't think we need to study a solution, we just need to come up with it. Maybe the gentleman who owns the property between Lake Forest Estates, I think you guys know who own the property behind Lake Forest Estates, it's privately owned.
Twinsburg Township, yes.
In Twinsburg Township. Maybe he'd be willing to donate some land for a retention basin. Maybe if that works for this area of Macedonia, is that a possibility for us? Because I understand that's the difficulty that you guys are telling us. The problem is with putting a retention basin in for Lake Forest Estates is because it's not on Macedonia property.
Right.
I understand that some people do have property in Macedonia where the problems can be fixed, and
Yeah.
it still isn't getting done there. So it just, you know, it's kind of ironic that everybody's here is talking about the same thing, and we don't have funding for any projects like this.
We do have funding. We are
We
currently.
don't have enough? I mean, are we using it all on studies and surveys and
Well,
visits and
hopefully not.
conversations
Hopefully
and
not,
emails?
but
That's just a point I'm trying to make.
Right.
It just seems like a recurring problem, and it'd be nice if I didn't have to come here for 20 years like some of these other people have been doing to get our problems fixed. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Steve Knox. Steve?
All right, thank you. Good to see you all again. I don't really have that well of a prepared speech, actually. I came here with what I understood that there was going to be an ordinance passed to pay for a company to do a sand study, I believe, in Lake Forest Estates, which I need to go back. I live at 1196 Stony Brook Circle in Lake Forest. So when we got here, we heard that that was pulled from the agenda. So first I want to say I'd be interested to see why. After hearing some of the other long-term residents, I may know the answer. But it would be good just to hear, you know, why it happened. Like many of the other folks, I think all we're asking for is a transparent process. It seems maybe the squeaky wheel's the direction that the folks are going. And I'm not, this isn't meant negatively. I mean, you get somebody and they're upset and the house is flooded or whatever. They got sand issues. I mean, it's a very emotional issue. But it appears that at least what I attended one working session with you all there, and I think there was something about putting together some process to prioritize that I think the mayor had said was done a number of years ago. One of the other gentlemen mentioned that. And, you know, if that was done to see, you know, if I'm number 1, I'm number 5, I'm number 12. You know, and if it's done by an independent, it removes the political component. I'm not saying nothing negative there, but professionals and all of that. That may be a good step in the right direction. And my heart goes out to some of these folks. 20 years. I mean, you know, that's way too long. I don't
Yes, I
disagree.
agree.
But you know, and I give them credit. They're giving solutions. You know, here, buy my house, do this, take this land. I mean, you've got great citizens here. They're looking for solutions and willing to work with you. But again, at the same point, it seems like we're hearing one thing and then they just sway. I'm searching for the words, but so if we could get a consistent, and if there is money, be great, transparent. How much do you have? Where's it going to be spent? Again, on a prioritized, transparent. So it's not through the grapevine that they hear, hey, the money's being spent on that side of town, and you know everybody gets upset, runs down, gets you on the phone, emails you, and say, what the heck's going on? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So anyway, again, it wasn't well prepared. I apologize for that. But again, that's if we could hear, I guess that would be the one respectful question that I would have why that was pulled. And again, I thank you and go Cavs.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yes, go on, Don.
All right,
Yes.
we're going to change things around a little bit here because we have some people that are going to be affirmed and appointed. So instead of making all those people wait so long, we're going to try and get this out of the way now. we're gonna go into our legislation, and we're gonna start with resolution number 70, 2015.
Sylvia, that would be
That's
you.
me. All righty, going out of order here. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer resolution number 70 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
A resolution affirming the appointment of Claudia M. Dillinger to the position of Human Resources Personnel Administrator.
And what's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post resolution number 70, 2015, and post according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance, resolution number 70, 2015 passes. Claudia, are you here? Okay, no, that's all right. Moving on, ordinance number 71 2015.
Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 71, 2015 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
A resolution confirming the appointment of Crystal Crosby by the mayor to the position of Membership and Special Programs Coordinator with the Parks and Recreation Department.
And what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I'd move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 71, 2015, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
71 2015 passes. Crystal, is Crystal here? No, okay. Moving on, ordinance number 72, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 72, 2015 for a first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Excuse me. An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Matthew J. Maloney to the position of part-time firefighter.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 72, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Matthew, are you here? Yes, sir. There you are. Hi, Matthew.
Welcome aboard.
How about if you introduce some of the people that are with you for us?
Here with my girlfriend Jess,
Hi.
Father Patrick, and Mom Diane.
Okay, Mom and Dad, you did a good job. Thank you. All right.
Thank you very
Look
much.
forward to working with you. All right, next on the agenda is ordinance number 73, 2015.
I'd like to offer ordinance 73, 2015 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance confirming the appointment by the mayor of Steve Von Driska to the position of part-time firefighter.
And what's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance 73, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance 73, 2015 passes. Steve, are you here? Hi, Steve. There he is. You look sharp tonight, Steve. How about introducing us to who's with you? Is there someone there? Yeah, they're Maloney family. Okay, you're sharing. Okay. All right. Good luck to you. All right.
That's cute.
All right, now, if you want, you can leave at any time as we go through the rest because we have quite a few this evening.
And we all know what happens at 9 o'clock tonight, so.
Yeah, the lights go out.
We
in this
don't
building.
have the big screen TV here, sorry.
Okay, we're going to go back to the beginning, ordinance number 38, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 38, 2015 for its third reading by title only.
An emergency ordinance authorizing the mayor to adopt a revised records policy and declaring an emergency. I don't know, it's double in there.
And what's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post, according to law, ordinance number 38, 2015.
Do I have a second?
Second, sorry.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Ms. Tully? Mr. Molnar?
No.
And Ms. Tully?
No.
Ordinance 38, 2015 passes. Ordinance number 51, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 51, 2015 for its third reading by title only, please.
Excuse me just a minute, please. An ordinance amending chapter 1327, did I read that right? Of the codified ordinances by repealing requiring rental property exterior inspections and fees.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 51, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
No.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance 51-2015 passes. Ordinance number 52, 2015.
Mayor, ask that we hold ordinance number 52, 2015 at its second reading, please.
Moving on, ordinance number 61, 2015.
I offer ordinance 61, 2015 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Section 301 of the Charter requiring a mayoral primary for mayor of the election year in the event there are more than 2 mayoral candidates.
All right, these are changes to our charter. Our charter is like the Constitution, so the laws that we follow in our city, we are a charter city. And these are recommended changes by our charter committee. Moving on to ordinance number 62, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 62, 2015 for its second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electorate of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Section 3.03 of the Charter, changing the number of members of councils needed to override a mayoral veto from 2/3 to 4 members. Boy, did I really mess up that, didn't I? Sorry about that.
You're thinking about the Cavs game. I think that's your.
Apparently, I am.
Ordinance number 64, 2015.
Let me back up on
Yeah,
ordinance number
63, 2015.
I was gonna say.
Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 63, 2015 for its second reading.
See if I can do this a little better. An ordinance providing for the submission of the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Sections 3.03 and 4.03 of the Charter, changing the presiding officer at meetings of council from the mayor to the president of council.
Ordinance 64, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 64, 2015 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Section 413 of the Charter, changing the number of votes for removal of a member of council from 4 to 3.
Ordinance number 65, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 65, 2015 for a second reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for the submission of the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Article 9 of the Charter by adding separate sections for appointment of the prosecutor within the Department of Law.
Ordinance number 66, 2015.
I offer ordinance 66, 2015 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Section 1001 of the Charter by changing the composition of the Planning and Zoning Commissions by removing the mayor and the appointed member of council and replacing them with the electors of the city.
Ordinance 67, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 67, 2015 for its second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Sections 1002 and 409 of the Charter by removing the platting authority from the Planning Commission and making the City Council the platting authority, and requiring that all recommendations of the Planning Commission be submitted to council for approval.
Ordinance 68, 2015.
Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 68, 2015 for its second reading, please.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Sections 1001 and 1101 of the Charter by requiring that one member of the Planning Commission serve as a non-voting member of the Board of Zoning and Code Appeals.
And ordinance number 69, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 69, 2015 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the electors of the City of Macedonia a proposed amendment to Section 1403A of the Charter by changing the number of votes for the removal of the building commissioner from 5/6 of the members of council to 4 votes.
Very good. Now we're going to skip over and go to ordinance number 74, 2015.
Wait a minute, resolution 70?
70 was the
We already did
resolution
those.
Yes.
That we
No.
did for the appoints.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So now we're on 74, 2015.
Which is
Yes, which is my, Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer ordinance number 74, 2015 for the first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending ordinance 117, 2014, establishing a pay grade for part-time dispatchers.
And what's your pleasure?
Before we complete this, I'd like to say this is done because the Safety Committee met and there was an issue which presented by the police chief that said that they weren't able to attract part-time dispatchers at the salary that we were offering. It was too low. So we are increasing it so that we can attract part-time dispatchers. And I'd like to offer, I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 74, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Moving on, ordinance number 75, 2015.
Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 75, 2015 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance
Motorcycle.
appropriating money for necessary computer maintenance.
And what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 75, 2015, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin, I'm sorry. Mr.
Yes.
Molnar?
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes, this is just money that we have to put, the administration covers all the normal, everyday, there are some annual ones that they have to renew. The budget didn't allow for some of the things that were popping up, that's why we had to put more money into that line item.
Ordinance number 76, 2015.
Offer ordinance 76, 2015 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing the city engineer to advertise for bids for the replacement of the Sioux Culvert as necessitated by the recent pavement failure to that location.
And what's your pleasure?
Move that we pass and post according to law ordinance 76, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar and Ms. Tully? Oh,
Brief history on this one. Way back when we were doing our budget last year, I had recognized that the Sioux Road culvert was gonna fail, and surely it did. There was a very large sinkhole, and this is gonna be an emergency repair, so sure, as we talk about stormwater issues as they continue, this is one that we waited until it failed, so, yes.
and Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Ordinance 77, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 77, 2015 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing the city engineer to prepare bid documents for the 2015 pavement prevention maintenance program and to advertise for said bids.
And what's your pleasure?
Before we go forward, I'd just like to say this is to provide for contracts for crack sealing and other types of road maintenance that we need to continue this year. And I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance number 77, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
Okay, moving on, ordinance number 78, 2015.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 78, 2015 for first reading by title only.
An ordinance authorizing the retention of GPD Group for the professional engineering and surveying services regarding the Ledge and Bedford Road drainage study.
And what's your pleasure?
Oh, no,
Oops,
sir.
I'm sorry, that was first reading.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on, could I make a brief statement about?
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of discussion about surveys and why are we doing more surveys. This is not a survey in the sense of determining the scope of a project. It is actually an engineering survey. It's estimated that it cannot be completed until probably October of this year, and certainly then the next issue is funding, but this is the next step which has to be done, which is to get an engineering study. And so and it deals with the area along Ledge Road. So I just wanted everybody to know that this is the first step, or the next step, which has to be taken, which is the engineering study to see what, if anything, can be done, and what, if anything, or what is the cost of such a project, which will then require funding in the next year's budget. Thank you.
We're at
I'm sorry.
79.
79.
Yes.
That's right.
Moving on, ordinance number 79, 2015.
I'd like to offer ordinance number 79, 2015 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing directing the mayor to complete and execute the preliminary legislation as mandated by ODOT for the project identified as SOM 271-859, BID 100298, and declaring an emergency.
And what's your pleasure?
Mayor, I'd move that we pass and post according to law ordinance 79, 2015, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
And Ms. Tully?
Yes.
That last one that we just did is simply giving permission to ODOT to be in Macedonia doing the job. All right, and last is resolution number 80, 2015.
Mayor, I offer resolution 80, 2015 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
We said that was first reading, Nick?
No.
No, we said third.
No, it's
No,
not.
you said three, second.
This is Highland Road. This is the signalization.
This is signals. So
Oh, this is
yeah.
the signal one?
Yes.
Okay,
The
I'm
last
sorry. I
one.
apologize, I'm wrong.
Okay, I'm ready? A resolution allowing the mayor to apply to the, for federal congestion mitigation air quality funds programmed by the Akron Metropolitan Area Transportation Study, AMATS, to upgrade the City of Macedonia's signal system and to improve the Highland Valley View intersection.
And what's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post according to law Resolution 80, 2015.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannikin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
And Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
All right, are there any other motions or legislative actions? Hearing none, are there any correspondence to the clerk?
I actually have two, but would you like me just to wait till next time?
Sure.
It's small print and I really don't have my glasses. Could
Okay.
we wait till next
Yes,
time, Mike?
no problem. Moving on to the mayor's report, I'm gonna condense that a little bit, but there are some things you really need to know about. For instance, we recently had a meeting about the Ledge Road Railroad Bridge. I need to update you. The project will commence no later than July 27th of this year. They were gonna start sooner, but special requirements from the railroad changed the schedule, not us. This project is being described as a retrofit of the existing bridge. So in other words, the bridge will not be replaced, but it will be made stronger and therefore safer. And the old stone that's there will be replaced by cement and girders. Ledge Road will be closed for this process, and that will be for no longer specified by the city than 75 days. There will be detours posted on our website. So we're going to have a little bit of congestion in the city. Speaking of our website, it's out of order. The city's trying to get through cyber attacks that have taken away our two very most important tools, our city website and our rec center website. There actually were 25 local websites affected. Even Air France and a university were hacked. I apologize for any inconvenience this may cause you, and I have no idea how long it's going to take to fix it. More road construction you need to be aware of. June 27th, the Route 82 resurfacing will be done. I really have to thank our city engineer, Nick Feeney, for having them start at the 271 bridge and go west from there. That was a horrible stretch of road right there. It's going into and coming out of the commons. That's great news, Nick. Good job. They will be working on that road, Route 82, at night. And this is a huge project. It will go from that bridge all the way through Sagamore Hills. Once again, this emphasizes the need to have Nixle. You have to have Nixle on your cell phone. Our texting warning system make people aware of adverse driving conditions and roadblocks. Simply text our zip code 44056 to 888-777 and you will be notified. And you know what? Keep looking for alternate routes that you can go, because Ledge Road Bridge, Route 82 from the west and also on the east end are all scheduled to happen this year. Be prepared, be ready. I don't want you to be inconvenienced, but we have to make our infrastructure the best it can be. If you think of it like roots of a plant or of a tree, with good roots, they blossom and so will we. Don't forget that we will be on hiatus the remainder of June. Our next council meeting is actually going to happen on July 23rd. Our police and service departments have designated where the flashing no through truck signs will be placed. They will be strictly enforced. Not every truck is considered a through truck, so you have to remember, for instance, that some have destinations in Macedonia. Those are not through trucks. But those that are, this is going to be a very expensive shortcut, and we will follow through on that. Moving on to committee reports. Do we have any committee reports tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say I'm currently working on a capital plan that is going to be able to forecast our funding and our expected revenue streams and the projects that we've already identified, and maybe some additional ones that haven't been identified yet. I intend to work with you and the department heads to come up with a completed plan. I'm hoping to have this before the budget cycle starts, which should be in August. So it's going to be a lot of work. I've already done some research, and it is going to take some effort, but I believe we need to do this. As we can see tonight, we've been talking 20 years about certain things. We need to have those forecasts planned and funded over a longer period and not just reacting day to day.
Are there any other department reports? I'm sorry, committee reports.
I'll save mine to the next one. We're down to 25 minutes.
All right, I'm going to start off with our department reports tonight. I'm going to be the service director this evening and tell you that our street sweeping is all completed. All curb streets are swept. The new roof is on the gazebo in Memorial Park. We're getting bids for the lighting of the gazebo as we speak. We are following up, seeking bids for the Fireman Police Park, which will be on the corner of Park and 82. And you know what? We're looking for a suggestion of a name for this park. So if you can think of a good name, this park is going to memorialize our police and fire departments. We have great ones, and we're going to tribute them. We found a boulder in the brush pile destined to be the free mulch. Please remove the debris from the brush. You bring to 9,000 Valley View. That boulder will destroy our mulching machine, and if that keep happening, we can't provide that free mulch for you. Please, don't let anything be in there when you bring the branches. And we are hoping to start ditching next week. Mike.
No report, Mayor. Thanks.
Angela.
I'm going to be the bad guy. I'd like to thank council for the hiring of Crystal Crosby tonight for their membership and marketing position. That is much, much needed, so we're very excited to get her in there. Festival took place over the past weekend, Thursday through Sunday. It was extremely successful. We actually got away with no rain this year. I think every single one of you sitting up there attend over the 4 days, so you got to see for yourselves how well attended it was, what a success it was. We still are working on final numbers. Our preliminary numbers show that we did come out in the black this year, so that's a big improvement from last year, but I will have final numbers for you prior to the next meeting. I'll email them out. Our Nightwave 5K that we held in April, we actually did that as our first city run 5K, and it was to benefit Nordonia High School athletics. We just got final numbers in from that, and for a first-year event, not bad. We were able to contribute over $400 to the high school athletics program, so we're proud of that, and we're going to build on that for next year as well. Last item I have, our community flea market is this Saturday, June 13th in Longwood Park from 9 to 1. So we hope that people come out. We have over 70 booths that will be set up, so if you're a garage sale type person and you like to find things, we'll have all of them in one location, so you can stop out and see what you can find. And that's all I have, so that we can all watch the game.
Well, I'll be brief then. Thank you, Angela, for the work with the Spirit of Macedonia Festival. Also, thanks to the police and the fire for being a part of that, and most importantly, the service guys who gave up a lot of them their entire days and nights to be there and kind of do the dirty work, clean up the trash and all the fun stuff that goes along with the festival. But I think it was a great success. I saw a lot of kids, a lot of people asked me a lot of questions. Just the one I wanted to mention was, how much money do we make off of this? And I want to be very clear, we don't do that to make money. The whole goal is to give something for the community and break even. That's always our goal. If we come out in the black, that's a bonus. That's not our goal to make money, so I want to be real clear about that. But thank you to all the city workers that were a part of that. We do appreciate it.
Very good. All right, Nick.
Kim. I'd like to thank council for the confirmation of the two firefighters, Matt and Steve. Our process is quite stringent. I know when we hire people, I always say our process is about 4 months long. It's very important for us to get really good people. These guys flew through the process, through the background, polygraph, psychological testing that we put them through in the interview process, drug testing, physicals. They did very well, so we are very fortunate to have them, and I wanted to thank council for confirming them tonight. That's all.
Very good. Mark?
No report, Mayor.
All right, moving on to unfinished business. New business?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Josephine
Ms.
roll
Darrow?
call? Yes.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Anakin? Mr.
Yes.
Molnar? Ms.
Yes,
Pelli?
yes.
Yes,
Go
yes.
Cavs, yes. Go Cavs.
Thanks for coming.